Hey, hello, Spurs fans. Paul, a Hotspur hippie here. The only psychedelic soccer show on the internet. No countdown, no nothing. We can't keep people hanging around. The quint's gone. The quint's gone. I've shaved all the fur off my face because we lost against PSG. So I didn't do a live watch along. I had technical issues up in the mountains. But I'll make up for all of that now because I've got a special guest here. Steve Perryman, our most decorated player, 2 League Cups, 2 FA Cups, 2 UEFA Cups, a Charity Shield, an FA Youth Cup, and the Anglo-Italian Cup. Don't forget that one. 854 appearances or 866, depending on which way you want to slice it and dice it. I'm very happy to say that Steve Perryman, welcome. How are you, Steve, and how are you, family?
I'm great. We're all great. Thank you very much for the invitation. Lovely to see you. We do speak regularly on the phone, but yeah, this is very special to be on your podcast. So happy to be here.
Thank you very much, Steve. Now, since we last talked on here, anyway, there's been 1 or 2 changes at Tottenham. Well, we won a cup. That was a good one. New manager. How? And also, I've seen you've been back at the Lane a couple of times. I saw you there with the other legends there, the Brighton game, and then for the Bill Nicholson Gates reopening. How are you finding things at Tottenham these days, Steve?
Yeah, I'm getting on okay with them. To be fair, I've started to be part of the Legends tour of the stadium, which is where you have a tour guide who's got all the facts and figures of the new stadium. You know, how many people can get in that stand behind the goal, 17,500, and that's more than the entire crowd at Brentford or Bournemouth, for instance. And the echo that's the sound that's made can be sort of echoed because of how the stadium was made and planned for. So, went to the last game against Brighton. So, unfortunately, we lost that one. But, of course, it was there to pay homage to the chaps that had won the trophy, including Ange. And didn't know that it was going to be Ange's last game for us. So, in a way, good to be there, but not in a good situation, I suppose. But the winning the cup was everything, wasn't it? Because it's been so long. So, the Bill Nicholson Gates, I am so happy that the club are paying respect to the great Bill Nicholson. That iconic photograph of him being stood at the gates.
Yeah.
As his daughter said in a very nice speech on the day that, you know, this was Bill. He was so proud of his club that this was Bill welcoming everyone into his club that he's so proud of. And so that was a nice occasion. It's always good to meet up with old players, Bill, Big Chiv, Pat Jennings, Peter Collins, that people seem to have forgotten about. When I put the photographs out, they're saying, who's that on the right? Peter Collins was a very, very good centre-half signed from non-league who was going to replace Mike England. And unfortunately, he had a career-ending injury. So good. Mabbutt was there as well. So good to see the chaps. Daniel Levy did the speech to sort of open the situation of the gates. And in that evening, I went to the one-man play about the life of John White.
Oh, yes.
Tragically killed on the golf course by lightning. So that was a very, very good Spursy day. And I'm really happy to be involved in this sort of stuff, especially if it's about the past. And of course, when I'm doing the stadium tours, you know, people are putting the old stadium against the new one. Of course, that's a mismatch. But you know, as I said, you know, what this new stadium lacks is a trophy. And I suppose that's a bigger trophy when it's won in front of your own supporters. But to be fair, we'll take any trophy that comes along, and that's why we're all a little bit sort of down after the game this week against PSG. But didn't we give a good account of ourselves? And I can see some positive changes in us, and I'm sure we'll talk some more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I was very excited for like about 84 minutes of that game, and I was surprised how we just controlled the game. But football's a funny thing, and it slipped away from us at the end. But I think they gave a really good account of themselves, and I'm very optimistic about the coming year now. I thought we looked really good. Some of our players looked excellent.
Yeah, I always say that don't get too high or too low with pre-season games and results. After Bayern Munich, I wasn't so low. After the performance against PSG, I didn't get as high as others, as per chance this season. But it's about the signs you see in those games. And in my development, I met Ron Henry, the left back of the double team, sort of coming down the teams, and I was coming up from the youth team. And we met in the A team, the Metropolitan League team. And I said to Ron on a coach journey, Ron, you won your first 11 unbeaten for 12 games in the double year. How did pre-season go? Did you know this was coming? And he said, Steve, we were very, very average in pre-season. So I think that's the clue, that it's about being right on the starting line of your first game, which of course we've got Burnley on Saturday. So I've been asked obviously about the new manager, what I think, and I don't personally know him. I think he's a very sensible choice in terms of the way he conducts himself. I think that, again, I normally say that your strength could be your weakness. And without judging him too early, but just my thoughts about the other night, very sensible guy, leading his team, the game against world-class team who were obviously rusty, and our energy made them more rusty. So that's why we controlled the game. And so well done for our energy. I like that. So we are obviously going to be stronger from set pieces, but we're also going to be stronger defending set pieces, because they are both as important as each other. I think for too long, Tottenham Hotspur have been bullied when defending set pieces. And I don't think we had enough aggression when we were attacking them. So I think that's going to change. I think that's what he had to, that's part of his plan, this manager. And I think that's the way that he did it at Brentford. I didn't know anything about him before Brentford, to be honest. But so when I come back to how sensible he is, he's leading this team, his new team, the game before the season starts. And he's just had Maddison injured and a few other injuries, probably nothing to do with him or his training, but the fact is they're injured. So 70 minutes, you're leading, you're playing so well. You could leave everything as it is and hope that you can see it out for the last 20 minutes. You do have players sat on the bench who have been training. So the sense of him says, do I leave them on because they've all put in a real shift? Do I leave them on and risk tiredness injuries? Now, I know tiredness injury could be cramp, but sometimes it can get more than that, particularly with hamstrings. So I think he went for the sensible approach, thinking about Burnley. Now, you could say, yeah, but he's wrong. There's a trophy at stake. Well, okay, if we end up getting the trophy, there's nothing to say we wouldn't get the trophy by making his changes. If we get the trophy and we are without 2 or 3 players from that starting 11 Saturday, I think people would be saying, why didn't he make substitutions? They were obviously tired. Why didn't he? So it's easy to be right after the event. We all think that their substitutions, as against ours, won them the game. Well, you think about the mental approach. If you're going on as a substitute for PSG, and this team is used to winning things, they're a successful team, they got a good manager who's decided to put them on, they are absolutely going to go for it. Because actually you could save the day, and that's what happened, really. I think both subs scored, didn't they? So
I think so, yeah.
I think they scored penalties as well. Anyway, you think about the mindset of the players coming on if you're 2-0 up, i.e. the Spurs players. You're thinking maybe, okay, yeah, I want to show myself. I want to try and get myself picked for Saturday. But don't make any huge errors that's costing us a goal. Because one goal can lead to two very quickly in football. Again, that's what happened. So when he made the substitutions, I think round about the 70th minute, it might have been a bit before that, we did hold out for, until the last 5 minutes. So it could have easily worked by making those substitutions. Yeah. I didn't like the fact that we got pushed too deep. The problem with then being pushed into a back five, and then if a midfield player joins you, that's sort of 6 defending your goal in your box with the goalkeeper. The problem with that is in tiredness, I'm talking about tiredness because this is a pre-season game. You want to leave it to somebody else. If it's a case of you having to do 10 yards back to your goal, back to the goal line or whatever, you maybe think that someone else can do it because there's so many other players around you. That was our problem. By too many players going back in the box, we started to leave it to each other. Maybe closing down the shot at the edge of the box or closing down the cross or etc. So unfortunately, it all dropped away second half. Off the back of a good, late in the second half, it come at the end of a really good performance from us, a battling performance. No one, I guarantee it, no one is going to bully us now.
No.
Even this lad from West Ham, he sort of left it on someone. Now, I'm not suggesting that's a good thing to do, but you've got to stand up for yourself. Not enough to get a red card, because that's the best way, the worst way to lose a game. I think he got sent off against us, didn't he, for West Ham? Yeah. So, but the one I want to see up his game, and there were signs of it because he had the fracas on the touchline with Arteta, is Porro. Porro had a little bit of a flare up, and he didn't. Porro is normally cuddling and kissing people in the tunnel.
I think he needs a bit of surgery because he seemed to have like a nerve that goes straight from his shoulder up into his head. So when he got hit by the ball on the shoulder,
well done. That's what I'm saying about him. He tries in a way to act, and I suppose it's all about your development and how you were taught. And that is exactly the opposite from how I was taught. I'm not comparing him and me as a player with different eras. But Bill Nicholson's teaching was, do not let the opponent think he's hurt you.
Yeah.
Do not take a step back if an opponent's fronting you up. Okay, don't headbutt him, don't get sent off, etc. But stand your ground. And if you looked at your opponent, I was developed with Souness, Graham Souness, ended up at Liverpool doing great things. Well, you can imagine how many times we stood in the tunnel together as colleagues and then opponents. Well, I wouldn't expect him to look at me and he would expect the same back. And at the end of the game, we'd shake hands. And now we talk more than ever about those games, but not at the time, not the hug and the kiss and the how great are we
Selfies.
both. For Christ's sake, I see stuff put out on Facebook of our training days, and there is more kisses, cuddles, high fives, and whoever is leading that, switch off, please, because it's not a good look, and it's encouraging the Spursy terminology about us. So I think this manager has started it off right, as per our attacking set pieces, scoring goals from it, not taking prisoners when it suits, protecting each other, recovering the goal better, blocking crosses that we did to protect the no goals while we were 2-0 up. And then, for whatever reason, we got tired. We started to leave it to each other, and we paid the price. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree that it's very, and I see a lot of it, it's very easy to analyse a game after it's happened. And yeah, you're wrong either way. You make the subs and it doesn't work, or you don't make the subs. No one knows what would have happened if no subs were made.
If you don't. And that's why the manager gets the big bucks, because it's his job to get that right. That job would change from being the game before the first game of the season or the game after the first game of the season. Do you see what I mean? And he's that sensible that he adjusts his thinking, and it worked against him. But I'm definitely not holding it against him. What I am holding for him is the fact that we were up for it. We had energy. We had organisation. We wanted it. And, just do a little bit more with Porro, please.
Now, a few people are watching now, so I'll just say that I've switched off super chats and all that sort of stuff for this stream. Steve is an ambassador for the Aortic Dissection Charitable Trust in the UK. There's a GoFundMe link if you want to say thanks to Steve or me. That's the way to do it. We've had a couple of donations have come in early from Ronald M and Mark Tyrrell. So it's 15
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
Very nice.
I mean, this chat is because I like Paul, I respect him, and along the way he said, "Well, what about if I put something up about the charity?" Well, that's very kind of you, but as long as we get the message out there about this aorta, my life was saved because of people's knowledge, and so the more we make people aware of even the name of it, the Aorta Dissection Charitable Trust, then that's good enough, whether you donate or not. But thank you if you do.
Well, a friend of mine's girlfriend had preventative surgery because they thought she was at risk of it someday. What happened to you happening to her, and now she doesn't have to worry about that. So there's a lot that they can do to preempt it.
At 65 years of age, you get a letter to say just come into your local surgery or maybe hospital and have an easy checkup for your aorta. And because I had mine at 60, of course, I didn't reach the 65-year letter. So knowledge is, the more knowledge you have of these things, and the fact that my experience is this particular problem, then why wouldn't I make people aware of it?
I've just got a couple of comments. I'll say happy birthday to Alan Bennett, who reckons he's 91. I think he's foxing about that one. Alan came and saw you at the Bushy Met Police last year.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, I've got a question here, and I mean, I feel a bit dirty asking this actually because it's all going to be Spurs on this, but Rob Belcher is a regular viewer, and he says, can I ask Captain Fantastic about his time at Oxford United, who I've supported since 1967? So...
Yeah. So everything comes to an end. My time at Tottenham come to an end. My legs were starting to go. It's a real shame that when you have a career, your brain gets sharper because of your experience. But unfortunately, your legs can't react to the decisions that you see should be made. So I saw my days out at Oxford. I chose a club that was not so far away from me. For instance, I lived not far off the M40. I could get there quicker than I ever got to Tottenham at any stage in my career. So it was geography one. Well, was that one? Maybe. But also the fact that the manager was Maurice Evans. What a gentleman. And I liked the feel of Oxford United. They had a stadium, the Manor Ground, that held 6,500. So this was not White Hart Lane or Old Trafford or Liverpool, for instance. So homely, well run, well managed, proper club, proper players. And eventually they won the League Cup. Nothing to do with me because I was cup tied. But I really enjoyed the day, I got to tell you. And we managed to avoid relegation, which I think was the main point of taking me there. So part of joining Oxford was putting the nail in my own coffin in terms of my career, because at Tottenham, in the last sort of 5-6 years I was there, the medical staff was so understanding of my legs, my amount of games, my injuries or lack of injuries, etc., that I was told on certain days, still come into training, but you only do half a session. At Oxford, I didn't feel I could say to anyone, I only do half a session on a certain day. So I tried to do everything, and running along the canal, pre-season heat and all the stuff. So I was never good in heat, but so yeah, I think that that hurried up my days. But actually, when your legs go, they go. So I was proud to have played for them. Really proud to have helped, particularly Maurice and the players, survive in the top league. It helped that we beat Arsenal 3-0 on the last day at home. That was particularly pleasant. I got some grief off the away supporters, you can imagine. So yeah, enjoyed my time there, and then led me to realise that my playing days were coming to an end, and therefore I joined Brentford as a player assistant manager, but did more assisting or coaching than I did playing.
Right, thanks for the question, Rob. So we've had a change of manager at Spurs, and I was sorry to see Ange go, but I like Thomas Frank, and I was just looking over old Spurs records because I like building myself up with a load of insane optimism before the season starts, and I saw that different circumstances, but Keith Birkinshaw left at the end of the '84 season. Been there 8 years, and then Peter Shreves comes in, and then in '84-'85 Tottenham have a pretty good year, good in the league, good in the cups. So from when you're playing in a team, or when you've got that attachment to a manager, what's the process of just getting on with it with the new guys? Is it difficult, or I suppose you just got to do it?
Yeah, Keith left a very good team.
Yeah.
In his last game, we won the UEFA Cup, which is no mean feat. Peter was fresh blood. He had knowledge of the team because he'd been Keith's assistant from, I think, before our success started. So before the FA Cup, '81. So '81, '82, League Cup final. Unfortunately, we lost. UEFA Cup final. So Peter came into a well-established team, and the good thing about Peter was that he was involved early on with the developing young players, and it was those young players that end up sort of boosting your squad. Mark Falco, Tony Parks, Mark Bowen, Mickey Hazard, Ali Dick, etc., etc. So this manager came in, Peter, with all the knowledge of what those young players could do and where they were on the curve of their development as per possibility of getting in the team. He bought a couple of players, John Chidozie and Clive Allen.
Oh.
And first game we went away to Everton and won 4-1, which is a great result in itself. The fact that Everton were league champions that year made it an even better result. Unfortunately, in the return game at White Hart Lane, Everton beat us, and that sort of made it a bit more sure that Everton were going to be champions, which of course they were. But we played Liverpool, for instance, who finished second in the league. We were third. We played Liverpool 3 times, home and away, and also at home in the League Cup, and we beat them 3 out of 3. So that's no mean feat either. So we just weren't good enough, for whatever reason, to sort of make the step above Liverpool or Everton to win the league as such. But this was an experienced team, won trophies in the past, and Peter kept all that going. And I like Peter particularly. In my 19 years at Tottenham, I only had 4 managers. Bill Nicholson, of course, I'm a disciple of Bill and Bill's ways and Bill's sayings, and no one will ever say a word against Bill Nicholson to me. Then Terry Neal for a short time, and then Keith Birkinshaw, who obviously we got relegated in his first year. He kept his job and then led us to some success. And Peter. So, you know, some clubs, some players have 4 managers in 2 years. I had 4 managers in 19 years. And I think that's part of what helped me. You know, the fact that I stayed at Tottenham and the managers that came in mostly stuck to the Tottenham way, which was the Bill Nicholson way. So you're on the right career path as well. So you can imagine if I'd have gone to Man City and I start telling people Bill Nicholson said this and Bill Nicholson said that and Bill Nicholson believed in this and that, you know, it wouldn't have gone down too well. But the fact I'm saying it to Tottenham people, it has some relevance. So, and probably added to, you know, my 19 years as such, that I was in a place that I felt comfortable. I knew, I understood the crowd understood me. The crowd are not mugs, as Bill Nick would say. They can spot a cheat a mile off. Trust me, they can. They don't always get it straight away, but they normally get it over the course of years, because not every player you sign is what you expect. So yeah, Peter did really well. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite so good the second year for him and me, and that's why when the club decided they didn't want to give me a new contract, which was fine because my legs were going. But the problem was, in my eyes, that with Peter's appointment, the outside football people became stronger. Scholar and Bobroff, and they started to have more of an influence on a young manager's thinking that Bill Nicholson would not have stood for and Keith Birkinshaw would not have stood for. So I suppose it was going from one era into another era where the owners were starting to they wanted to get across how they saw it, how they saw the club. And we know that Scholar went into various businesses in the name of Tottenham and put us into the stock market and stuff like that. Not all bad, but certainly not all good either. And that was a changing club. And by the time I got back there with Ozzy, Sugar was in charge, and this was definitely not the club that I joined in 1967. The ethics, the morale, the fairness, etc., had all been blown away, and therefore we land up where we are today.
Well, we have just won a cup, so I'm just thinking, Your first senior honour, 1971, the League Cup. Was that the first one for you?
Yeah, I always say to people again, within the talks that I give, which is what all I do now, I'm retired. I travel and I talk. And my wife says I'm great at both. Recline the chair on either in the car or the aeroplane, and just click a switch, and my mouth starts talking, and off you go. Where was I going with that? 71. So I always say that the FA Youth Cup was my
FA
first.
Youth Cup.
Only one team per year can win the FA Youth Cup, and we won.
And what did that change something in your head as a player, like pre-winning something and then post-winning something? Like, was there a difference between hoping you could win something and knowing you can win something?
No. Well, I was at a club that has history, the double, the first club to win a European club trophy. They won the FA Cup 67 when I joined. So these people were winners, and the club had a winning air about it. And of course, sometimes the circle changes, and the first team goes down a little bit. And then Bill had to sign new players to bring it up, and one of them was me, but through the youth system. And so it was a winning club. So there was no real length of time, 3-4 seasons. Yeah. Some great players. Jimmy Greaves left. I was going to talk about this as well with Son leaving. That Son was a wonderful player. He was a great professional, so humble, so proper. But actually, I turn the phone off now if I see one more thing about, tears and he's gone, and guess what? The game is about next. Jimmy Greaves left. Next. Martin Peters came, yeah. Martin Chivers took the role. Harry Kane leaves. Next. We win a trophy. I don't think anyone's really replaced him yet, but that's a different story. So Pat Jennings leaves. Next. Ray Clements leaves. Next. Bill Nicholson leaves. Next. So we're sorry. Great career, and well done. Thank you very much. I'm sure he was well paid for it. But on to the next. And someone else will pop up. Someone else will pop up. And sometimes it's a surprise that pops up. If people tell me they are not surprised how Harry Kane finished up, and yet after 20 odd games, I think the crowd was saying, this is, he's not good enough. This is ordinary. This is what we're going to have in our goal scoring department. Well, guess what? Things change, players develop. Very rare to sign a ready-made player like Jimmy Greaves. Jimmy Greaves came in, I wasn't there, but Jimmy Greaves comes into the club. No one can teach him how to score goals. He scores goals. But be it this, the young lad has got some criticism after the final, penalty miss, etc. Someone now needs to develop him. He needs to develop himself. And we will have to help that. He has to help himself. Don't be a basuma and turn up late, because you won't learn too much.
Oh, that was a bit of a shocker, wasn't it? It's like,
So let's not go there. But
yeah,
just have some respect for the supporters. But actually, supporters, have some respect for your young players growing up and developing. And we've got more than a fair share of young players, so they're going to need your help. So help them, and don't jump all over them. Don't jump all over them, either in success or failure. Don't jump all over them. They don't need it. Just be like I said about pre-season, don't get too up or too down on a pre-season result or a pre-season action. And if that young lad, what's his name? The one I'm talking about, missed the penalty.
Tell?
Yeah, I think he'll probably change his technique of taking the penalty.
Maybe just run up and whack it instead. I was watching the penalty shootout, and me and my mate were just...
Back to your question. 71, my first cup, sat in the bath after the game. The captain, Alan Mullery, and captains give messages out all the time. And he said, Steve, enjoy it. I said, what do you mean, Alan? He said, enjoy it. You've been part of a cup-winning team. It don't happen very often. And he was right. He was right. But it actually did happen again in 73 and 74, UEFA Cup, League Cup, etc. And we did have a lot of success, and they come in clusters. And hopefully now, okay, after winning the cup and winning the cup for us, maybe we should have won the other night, but hopefully this is the start of good times.
That mentality you're talking about Spurs, I remember seeing an interview with Dave Mackay before the 67 FA Cup final, and bear in mind this is only 4 years after we'd won the Cup Winners' Cup, and not that long after we'd won the double and FA Cup, so again and again. And he said, we're a good side, but we haven't won anything yet. That was his benchmark. Yeah. And he's talking about a team that had, like I say, not long from European success, but it was a bit of a rebuilt team by then.
That's a club success, but Dave was probably talking about a new rebuild. And I was part of the rebuild at the end of the 60s, early 70s. So that's why I was involved, 71. And then, of course, that rebuild starts to fail and we get relegated. And then Keith has to rebuild again. And only me and Glenn Hoddle survived from the relegation into the success years. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater when you have failure, because it was failure. Of course, relegation's failure. But if you toss everyone out, you toss out Steve Perryman, who was as good a captain as you'll find, and Glenn Hoddle, that was as good a footballer and passer as you'll find. So even within disaster, there's something good in it.
So I've heard you mention this thing before. So your career, because your career not only either the longest serving player at Tottenham Hotspur, but when you look at world football, there's only 3 other players out there in world football that have had more appearances for one club. That's Ryan Giggs, Paolo Maldini, and Chera, I think, who was a goalkeeper for Sao Paulo. So, and I've heard you mention this, that in the closed season there was like a 2-player cull, and you're trying to avoid the cull every year, finding out what can I do to make myself indispensable to the club. What was your... What sort of things did you do there?
I never really thought too much about will I make it. I just got up in the morning, got there on time, Basuma, and trained as hard as I could, listened. Bill Nicholson told someone one day that Steve Perryman listens more than most and talks less than most. Okay, that wasn't on the pitch because I spoke more than anyone. But part of it is listening and developing. And so you could call me loyal. I think I was loyal. Loyalty works both ways. The club were loyal to me as well. So no hardship to sort of go back there now. I don't agree with everything the club does, but it's my club. It's your club. It's our club. And I'm proud to have represented Tottenham Hotspur. I'm proud to be captain. Unbelievable that I played so many games. Looking back, I wonder how I did that. So I must have avoided injury and be trusted by the manager. And if you think that's a brown nose talking, I think I had more arguments with managers than anyone I know over tactics, over treatment of players, over arrangements, etc., bonuses. And, I gave people lots of reasons to want to get rid of me, but they never. And I think it was because I was a player that could help others play better. And that's a very, very important player to have in your squad. And so it's not all about what you see on the pitch. I actually think I spoke very highly there of Son, albeit next. I actually didn't see him as a team captain. I saw him as a club captain because of how he lived his life and how professional and humble he was. I didn't see him as a captain at the moment on the pitch, be it changing it, being warning a player to be very careful, or the referee, without sort of getting on the referee's nerves, because as soon as you do, he goes against you with the next decision. So trust me, it's an art to be captain. It's an art, and I think it's a dying art. And it was part of the string to my bow that avoided the cut, as you said, the cut. And
that was, I'm sure I heard you say that somewhere. Maybe I was wrong, maybe.
Right, you're absolutely right. But I never thought that I wouldn't make it. And I never thought, he's going to leave me out, the manager. I never thought it. I thought, I do what I do. If it's good enough for you, great. If it's not good enough for you, so be it. I'll have to try harder and work harder. And so I sort of covered the bases in a way. In a way, I was too consistent to leave out.
Oh, I can't remember you ever seeing you have an off game.
I did.
Did you?
No,
or to my untrained eye?
Well, no, of course, but of course you did. But I think a minimum is you give 100% effort every game. That's a minimum. If someone says you were a good player because you give 100%, I'd say, well, what else are you going to give? It's then what you do with 100% effort that makes it into a good or a great game. I had very, very few great games. I had a lot of good games because the energy and the fitness led me to a certain point in the performance to then be a good captain and a respected captain and a respected player to your own players and the opponents. So, I'm getting better and better at talking about myself. Actually,
I'll put it another way. I never saw you walking around with your hands on your hips.
No, why would you? Bill Nicholson used to never stand still on a football pitch. If you want to stand still, go and stand on the terraces.
Now we've got a new captain now, and Romero, and the first thing I liked about Romero being captain was in the Europa League final when he took our players for the pre-match huddle into the Manchester United half just to do it in front of our own supporters. I thought there was a bit of a message there. What are your thoughts on Romero as our new captain?
Yeah, if he keeps control of himself, he can get upset with the opponents, as we all
can get upset with him as well.
As we all do. He can leave it on opponents, and sometimes the opponents leave it on him. I'm talking about challenges. I think if it sort of calms him down, but without taking away his aggression, because his game is based on aggression. He's a very, very good player. I mean, he's won the World Cup after all. So Ozzy tells me he's a serious football player. I believe that. And as soon as you start getting selfish in your actions, you're ability as a captain decreases. And I know that because I did it at Real Madrid away, Cup Winners' Cup, where I got nastily kicked by one of Aussie's mates, Argentine international. And I waited my time, and then I did him. And I must have done it so obviously that I got sent off. We ended up losing 1-0 to Real Madrid away from home, having, 0-0. Yeah, I don't think we were ever going to win that game because the referee looked like he was on some sort of Spanish holiday or Spanish promise. But yeah, so that's the problem with captaincy. When you start getting selfish, that's not a good captain. I very rarely did it, but I did do it. And again, it's all part of my experience that allows me to make statements about being captain. I always say it's not a popularity contest. If you want to be friends with everyone, don't be captain. You've got to say how you see it when you see it. And it's okay, you can do it in a very harsh manner or you can do it in a softer manner, but you have to say it. And I didn't want to be liked by our players. I wanted to be respected by them. And yeah, and Keith Birkinshaw sort of led me into the captaincy role in terms of being able to change things on the pitch at the time. As he quite rightly said to me one day, Steve, sometimes half time is too late to change. It needs changing before that. I said, okay, so you're allowing me to change the style. Yeah. Okay. He said, but if it works, I'm never, ever going to say to someone, the press or anyone, that it was your decision. And if it doesn't work, I will never say it was your decision. And they're the agreements that you have to come to so that's serious talk, that between a captain and a manager. It's not just the manager giving you throwing the armband at you, saying you today. No. I've come through. Bill Nicholson made me captain, vice captain, then captain. Keith Birkinshaw. These are serious thinkers. So if they chose me as a captain, I got to be a serious thinker back.
And you had.
I like him. I like him as a player, and I want to see him develop as a captain.
Yeah, and you had regular conversations with Keith after games, the day after a game, for an hour or two on the phone, just talking through what happened. Is that right?
More 2 hours than 1 hour. and as Ange rightly said, you're either under pressure in football management. You're either under pressure, or the pressure is coming around the corner, the next corner. And therefore, as a captain and being a responsible captain, and the manager, of course, being responsible for the team and the club, you have conversations to avoid what do they call it in tennis? An error that is your own error. What's it called? A
fault?
Yeah, sure, but an unforced error.
Oh, right, yeah.
You have talks with your team and your mate and your whatever to save getting the unforced error, because there's enough errors coming anyway. And if I can talk a bit about Ange, I really liked Ange as a man. I really liked him. His quote about "we won't stop." We won't stop. The opponent wants us to stop, but we don't stop. Well, I saw that, but I thought it evaporated away. And I'm not sure why that was. Did the players lose faith in him? I've not heard a word of that. I'm not close enough to anyone to hear what they thought of Ange. What I will say about players, and I should have mentioned this within you saying about change of manager. When there's a change of manager, all the players say something like, oh, we really liked him, we respected him, we whatever. And then within 2 months of the new manager, they say, this is better than before.
This is brilliant.
Players protect themselves. I was a player, trust me. I was an honest player, and players blow with the wind. They go whichever way suits them. So don't believe too much what you read about this, that, or the other, how much they loved Ange or they didn't love him or whatever. Don't take it. It's nonsense.
Well, I'll wrap this up soon, Steve. Thanks for your time. But were you watching the Europa Cup final at home, or how did you enjoy that? And did it reawaken? Because you have won. I've got to remind people out there, Steve has won more honours in Europe than Arsenal has as a complete club. Won the UEFA Cup twice. Did it reawaken any old memories for you? Us winning it again?
Yes. It's when at the end of the season, you've done your job, you live by your responsibility to try and bring a trophy to your club in front of your own supporters. Thankfully, against Anderlecht, it was in front of our own supporters. Against Wolves in the 70s, it was in front of our own supporters. Well, okay, it was not the whole stadium of our own supporters, but it's still people that have gone the extra mile to get their ticket and their flight and their hotel and go through all the stuff that you have to on the way to the final as well, by the way. So that's the feeling that I got. These players had lived up to their billing. They obviously hadn't done that in the league, and that happened to us a few times as well. We won cups that got us out of trouble in terms of living to our responsibility. But when you see what joy you bring to those people, that I mean, I know that you supported Ange and fought against the people that were knocking him and anti, etc. And you stuck firm and you said, he'll win that trophy. And he said, I won it in my second year. Well done. That's fantastic. So I was pleased for him. I was pleased for the crowd. I was pleased for the decision makers because I think it was getting to a stage where this trophyless club was going on too long, and all of a sudden everyone's brighter, got a spring in their step, thinking more positively about their club, coping with some strange decisions about old age pensioners, season tickets, etc. It all comes back into line when you've got that win, and you've just won a football game. But I tell you what, the repercussions are so much more. You're talking about things I won 60 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's still relevant. And thank you for the quote about winning more in Europe than Arsenal.
Well, it's true. It's only the truth on this channel, folks.
Yeah, sure.
And now that Thomas Frank's in, I'm behind Thomas Frank as much as I was behind Ange. But I saw that.
Now I'm happily retired. My wife and I have just taken an allotment. I don't think there's too many sort of players who've played 800 plus games. Work an allotment. I love it. I love it. It's my relax time. I give talks to Spurs people. I think you can see how much I'm into Spurs.
Have you got any talks coming up, Steve?
Yeah, I think I mentioned to you pre this, didn't I? But I'm going to go for it again. One is a new club, Dudley Spurs, up in the Midlands. There's a new group on February the 14th of November, so it'd be good to meet them. I'm going to go to Japan as per the travel I mentioned earlier to meet up with friends and contacts.
Are you going back to your old club there or other parts?
I actually don't think so. I think I'm going to spend my time in Tokyo, and Shizuoka, my club, were an hour from Tokyo, but I think I'm only there for 4 or 5 days, but probably the next visit I will do. But I've also got talks in Brentwood, Devon, Southend area, Swindon and Jersey. Swindon and Jersey hopefully will be with Keith Birkinshaw, who's 90 years old now. He's 90 years young, I should say.
It was wonderful seeing him at the Brighton game. He looks fine.
And we attended his 90th birthday party, 7 or 8 of us, out of respect. So that was good. And so, yeah, and I might even be visiting Australia. Who knows?
Oh, that'd be good, man. That'd be good. Roll out the red carpet.
I haven't been there for years and years. So I understand that we've lost a few supporters because of the Anne situation. I realise that. But
there's a lot over here still, though. There's still a lot
some
over
serious, Spurs supporter clubs there. So anyone interested in me visiting them, I'm on email, steveperrymanpublic@gmail.com. So, yeah, good to talk to you, Paul.
Oh, it's just finally, now that you're a fan, now that you're one of us, what are your hopes, or what can you see for Spurs this season? Because I'll always say the quad's on, so I'm ridiculous, but
less Spursy, more competitive. Don't get bullied. Play to our, not play in the past, play to our history in terms of, for instance, if I was there, apparently the authorities are going to clamp down on the dark arts of football. Well, I believe that when I see it. But I've been a Bill Nick disciple for years and years and years, who never said run the ball to the corner flag, never told Big Pat to take his time from a goal kick because we're winning, run the clock down, kick the ball away, pressure the ref. Please, non-football should not win games. Don't give up. Learn the lesson from this PSG team. 5 minutes to go, they scored their first goal. So don't give a game up as lost. And Spurs supporters, homegrown players are not second-class citizens. They are not. Harry Kane was not a second-class citizen. Glenn Hoddle was not a second-class citizen. Steve Perryman is not a second-class citizen. And yes, you need the players coming in from abroad, Ozzy, Ricky, of course. You need the outsiders coming in to add to the spice of the team and the taste of the team. But don't overlook your own group of players that have been developed under your way, your club. And stick together. Crowd. You have more success when the crowd and the team are together. And that happened at the end of the last year because the hint of success. Get together before the success comes, and then the success comes earlier.
Yeah, unity is important. Like that was because I watched Ange a lot at Celtic, and it was very unified up there, and that's what I was hoping he could bring at Spurs, and it did at the start. But I'll judge him as a success because even if it was for one day, that parade that we had, with the players and the bus, I think that's it. That's a success. Steve,
very much so.
Thank you very much for your time. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we pop off?
Anyone listening, if you're Spurs people, thanks for that support. Thanks for that loyalty. Sometimes that loyalty is maybe taken a bit for granted. But I think the fact that we've won a trophy, things will become not easier. It's not meant to be easier, but simplified. And yeah, we should be proud of our club. We were the pride of North London last year because of the trophy. And let's do it again, but be the pride of England.
Okay, onwards and upwards, I reckon then. I can't
Yeah.
wait. I can't wait. I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing already, man. You got me motivated.
Go, attack. Close the ball. Recover to goal, quick. Block shots, block crosses. Follow up both ends. All this stuff still works.
Wow, man. All I do is just switch the TV on and have a cup of tea, but I'm exhausted now. So, no, thank you very much, Steve. I hope everyone out there has enjoyed it. So don't forget, if you want to say thanks to Steve, there's a link to Steve's charity. And I'll end the stream there. And Stevie, just hang on, I'll just end the stream and I'll say goodbye to you behind the things. To everyone else, peace and love, man. Peace and love, and come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
And